Okay, Nick and Andy, the richest game in all of sports is coming up. The Championship playoff final at Wembley. Leeds United against Southampton. I'll be there. I'm a Southampton fan. I grew up. That's my hometown. So I'll be there in the Saints end. But for this, I'm going to stay totally impartial. As you can tell, my voice still hasn't recovered from the semi-final victory for Southampton. But Nick Mendola, your thoughts on these two teams, because they both have a chance to be straight back in the Premier League after disappointing seasons last season. And I guess this is what they deserve, right? Because they were third and fourth in that incredible battle for automatic promotion with Leicester and Ipswich. These two just missed out, but they've clearly been the best of the rest in the Championship this season.
I want everyone to know that I mean this, and I'm not saying this because of my boss, but I'm like full on board, especially with you going to be there. I am full on board the Saints train. I missed them in the league this year. I think the colors, the stadium, everything about it just kind of works as a Premier League club. And so my thoughts are, it's hard for me to be unbiased because, no offense to the Leeds fans out there, I really want Saints to go up. I think it is going to be very evenly matched. We haven't seen them go at each other hard because of week 40 million, the last week of the season, because there's 650 games in each championship season. But I'm excited to see them match up, and I think it's a good day for football, right?
It will be. It will be a great day at Wembley. The home fans really brought it for both teams to get them into this final. The second legs, they were brilliant. Leeds beating Norwich 4-0, Saints beating West Brom 3-1. And you mentioned that very evenly matched teams. I think most people would probably give Leeds the slight advantage in terms of their attacking talents, and just they finished just above Southampton in the league. But Andy, I mean, this should be really entertaining, right? Both teams are stacked with attacking players. They want to attack, they want to go all out. But I mentioned there, Leeds probably have the more solid clinical edge to their game with Daniel Farker. He's been up before, he knows what to do. And the attackers as well, with Ruta, Somerville. Not sure if Patrick Bamford's going to be fit, but Pirot's in there as well. Just so many great attacking players that Leeds have at this. But Dan James, Wilfred Gnonto. So, yeah, I think probably 60-40 Leeds are favourites to win this game. But it should be, unlike most playoff finals, not a cagey affair. It should be an open, entertaining game, I think.
Yeah, is that the pessimistic Saints fan in you saying 60-40, or is that kind of the general opinion?
It's general opinion. I think general opinion is most people, unlike Nick, would like to see Leeds go up because the size of the club and all the rest of it. But yeah, you go ahead and share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's not surprising that first season that obviously we've got Leicester coming back immediately. You go down to the Championship, especially if you've been in the Premier League for as long as Leicester were, as long as Southampton were, and you still have that big club mentality. We are a top flight side, and so you go into the Championship expecting to get a result every time, and you expect to be there at the end of the season with a chance to go back up. And so it's not surprising that we've got two of the teams that went down last season together and had some work to do in terms of the squad this season. They weren't able to keep everybody around. I think some players from both sides got loaned out, but they've got good young cores going. And so to me, that's the most interesting thing when you talk about a team that's been in the Premier League, suddenly they're not, and then immediately they're back. How much cohesion can you keep? And it feels to me, from having probably watched each team about a half dozen times this season, they've had a lot of that, and that's been a big part of the success. It is a little bit maybe more spread around and well-rounded of a team for Leeds because they've got 5, 6, 7 players that are constantly dangerous, whereas with Southampton, it's a couple, and they've been absolutely incredible. Will they both be available for the final, though? I think is probably the biggest question on Saints side, right, Joe?
It is, and Adam Armstrong's been excellent. The Championship Maradona, we call him, because he just scores so many goals in that division, and he leads the league in goal involvements this season for Saints. And he's just been exceptional coming off the left or starting up top. But Shea Adams is the other one as well, obviously really sweating on his fitness, the way that he leads the line, bullies defenders. And, I mean, Saints beat Leeds home and away this season. Nick mentioned it at the top. Final game of the season was a bit weird because Saints had nothing to play for, went to Ellen Road and won 2-1. Leeds knew they had to win that game to have a chance of automatic and hope Ipswich slipped up. So they kind of went all-out attack, left themselves a bit more open than usual. But and then the other game was so early in the season for both teams, like you said, Andy, a big rebuild that couldn't really get a good sense of what was to come. And then Saints went on a 25-game unbeaten run. Leeds went on a huge winning run in the early 2024 to get themselves in this position. So both teams have had great seasons and runs in the season, and any other season they would have probably been promoted automatically. But I do think, and this is not the Saints fan in me coming out, I do think, bless you, Nick, that Leeds United probably have more pressure on them in this game, I think, in terms of the expectation level. So might work in Saints' favour. And one more Saints point, Nick, before I ask you about the battles, is that they've moved to sort of a back 3-5 fluid formation in recent weeks, just to give themselves a bit of defensive solidity, more defensive solidity, because they scored a lot of goals but let in a lot this season. I think that will kind of just underline the fact for both of these teams, they had great regular seasons, but this is a different season entirely, right? It's a three-game season, play to stay in the games, and then let your attacking players do the business like they both did in the second leg. But Nick, I mean, key battles, score predictions. I mean, the one prediction is that there is VAR in this final, and that is not going to be great, I think, for both of these teams who've been so used to not playing with VAR all season. So hopefully that's a big say. But what's your say on the final?
Yeah, I think that if something crazy happens early, it's bad for Saints, because I feel like if the game, if as you look through the stats, and you can correct me on this, you've obviously seen way more, but the stats say this is a very good pressing team. It's a team that passes the ball around a lot, more, if not better than most other teams. So if the game goes longer, I think Southampton's football has been a little bit better. But if there's a red card or a free kick or something crazy happens early and Saints have to sweat through that possession a little bit, I think that could put the game on edge. So I think the first 15 minutes are going to be pretty important. I mean, they're always pretty important. Let's be honest. That's a dumb sports guy thing to say, but I hope you get what I mean by that.
No, I think you're right. The style of play for both teams, right? Southampton, they score early, then they can sit back, keep the ball. They like to do that, like you said, and then Leeds have to come out and leave gaps. But on the flip side, we saw it in the second leg of the semi-final against Norwich. Leeds can just be like bang, 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 score 3 goals in a 10-minute spell, and they can pretty much win the game there. They have the individual talents. So I think that the styles are very different, but they can both be pretty devastating with the ways that they play. And that's what makes it such an interesting sort of tactical game for me. Andy, any players really stand out as pivotal for me? Maybe someone doesn't get talked about that much, but Flynn Downs is on loan from West Ham to Southampton, and that possession-based style runs through him, but he also sets the press and gets up high, wins the ball back. And I think that's been key to Saints in their best performances this season, actually pressing high to win it back, and then they can keep it and do things with it. But he's one player, and obviously Somerville for Leeds, I think, will really have a big impact on this game.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of picked the two right there. You've been telling us about Flynn Downs, and so had a watch of Southampton kind of down the stretch of the season, and like you say, pulls the strings there in midfield. And I would imagine whether Saints get promoted or not, probably a player that we see somewhere in the bottom half of the table in the Premier League next season, has really showcased himself and probably set himself up for a move into the top flight again, whether it's with Saints or not. And Somerville, just the numbers this season, 20 goals, 9 assists in the league. I mean, how much potential was talked about last season when he kind of burst onto the scene a little bit in the Premier League, and it was clear there was a ton of talent there, but it was about the consistency. You go down a division, you score 20 goals, you set up almost 10 more. That's consistency across the whole of the entire season. And now you have the big stage to go out there and create a memorable, kind of career-long moment, something to look back on. I would imagine, and I know we'll get to predictions here, that it's going to be one of those many big names, I think, for Leeds at the end of the game. I've tried to find ways for Southampton to get an early goal in this game and control play a little bit and dictate the way it's played. And it just feels like it's going to be the emotion of a final, especially the promotion final, a team that brings a bit more energy to the game and is a little bit more aggressive. And I do think that's going to be Leeds. And I think ultimately they'll be rewarded for that in a narrow 1-goal game. I don't know if 1-0, 2-1, it's going to be tight, I think.
It's going to be really tight. And I think you mentioned there Somerville against Walker-Peters. That individual battle, Leeds is left, Saints is right back, probably their best player, is going to be excellent. I think that will decide the outcome of this game. Prediction-wise, I'll go first. I think it's going to go extra time, and I think it might be a 3-2 to Leeds United situation. I think that they have just enough attacking talent to get them through here. But it will be interesting to see, like Nick said, whoever starts fast, whoever deals with the occasion, and knowing that this is worth over $200 million to their club, the prize money, I think we'll really just see how the flow of the game goes and dictate that. But Nick, what's your score prediction, mate?
1-0 on the lad from Newcastle, Adam Armstrong scoring the goal.
I'd take that. Andy?
Yeah, I'll go for the 2-1 to Leeds. Again, it's going to be very, very tight, and they will set out, I think, to be a little bit more aggressive. And in games like this, you see teams a little bit too conservative, played a little bit too safe, and typically they get punished for that.
It's going to be interesting. Leeds against Southampton in the Championship player final at Wembley for the final place in next season's Premier League. The richest game in all of sports. We'll have you covered over on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com with all the latest from Wembley as we find out who will complete the lineup for the Premier League next season.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.